Erasmus starts up front with the award winner, Peter Shalulile, fresh from collecting his award as a joint top goal scorer in the Premiership. Well, he leads the line today together with Kermit Erasmus. Andile Jali is included as well in midfield in place of Hashim Domingo in 3 changes made by Messrs. Mriti and Mokwena. Our captains, Itumeleng Kuna restored, of course, and keeps his place in goal with Bruce Buma as the deputy. Still no sign of Daniel Akpay, still having issues with his travel documents in Nigeria. We have a stellar team of officials as well, led by Lukolo Badi, who was a finalist, of course, for referee of the season. But we start with a moment of silence as we remember those that have lost their lives to this pandemic that has changed all our lives. May their souls rest in peace, and also may their memories serve as a reminder to all of us that this pandemic is still amongst us, very much so, as we have warnings of a resurgence, and we applaud all those that are, of course, at the front line of fighting this horrible, horrible disease. As I said, it's a stellar team of officials as well. Lukolo Badi, who missed out on the Referee of the Year award to Jelly Chabadi. But William Shongwe, how is Gavin Hunt going to be playing it today?
How much time has he had to fine-tune the formation? But we know Castro obviously will be right at the top of the formation. For me, it augurs well for a style where they'll like to hang them long with Manyama and Billiard sneaking in underneath him to keep Mamelodi Sundowns under a lot of pressure. And of course, for Mamelodi Sundowns, Shalile unusually is placed at the top of the formation and he likes to run at defenders, but you know what? He has the players that will supply him with the long range type of passes. If you talk Jali, Kutsia and Kekane, they both have the ability to find him.
There you have it then. We are all set then. It's the dawn of a new era as Kaiser Chiefs, the 12-time Premiership winners, or should I say the 12-time league winners, but 4-time Premiership winners, come up against the dominant force since the dawn of Premiership football, Mamelodi Sundowns. 10 titles they have won, and if you add the titles they won from back in the NSL era, it's 13, making them head and shoulders as the most successful team in as far as league titles is concerned. No more arguments there. It's a new look hairdo there for Kama Billiard, or as Pumlan Msibi would say, a hair domed.
A little bit disappointing. He's able to get past Rosler, and the execution to deliver the cross. He's right-footed, and he was forced to deliver with his left, and he didn't get the quality that he needed to find Castro in the center.
Well, Castro, or should I say, is Nascimento switches play there, asking a lot of Tapelo Morena, who's included in the starting lineup as well. As I said, it was one of 3 changes from a team that lost to Tapelo Morena's former club, Bloemfontein Celtic, and what must go down as a bit of a shock result. Getting sweet revenge there, did Bloemfontein Celtic against a Sundowns side that they really did not play badly, but they came up against an inspired defense and a goalkeeper who would not be beaten in Tapelo Jackson Mabukwali. There's Mangoba Mriti, now the first among equals in terms of the coaching duo or trio, if you like, with Rulani Mokwena and Steve Kompela visiting his former club here as well. I'm sure he wouldn't have expected to be here, back here so soon into his new job. Nascimento.
In fact, that could have been a penalty because the ball ended up into his hands and the hand was in an abnormal position. But clearly, the man in the middle, Mr. Badi, didn't pick it up.
Well, if this were the Premier League, I tell you, that would have been a penalty. Because that's how strict they have been forced to be with this rule. Now, space for Tapelo Morena. Picks out Romeo. Since he's joined the Brazilians, you might as well call him as Brazilians like to be called, by a single name, Romeo.
Yeah, yes.
Forget Kermit Erasmus. If you're just joining us, by the way, here is a Kamabiliat now looking to inflict pain on his former team there. What a save, immediately testing Dennis Onyango, equal to it.
It's brilliant with Castro taking the defenders away. It's a good run. It's a decent pass to find him as well on the front foot, and doesn't waste time. First time he hits it as hard as he could. Yeah, a blockbuster of a shot, and Dennis Onyango, he's so good again. He catches this ones, but he can only pile that one out for the corner.
Well positioned there, Dennis Onyango, to make the save. In comes the first corner of the game from Lebohang Banyama. Chiefs, of course, scored from 2 corners against the Maritzburg United last weekend. From an unlikely source, the goals came. And Jürgen Sessman.
I was trying to find him in the cluster of players there, if he's going to end up finding his head into the path of the ball.
Chiefs on the front foot here. Lebohang Banyama. Good ball in here. And referee's whistle is gone. Must have seen a foul in the box there, as there was no flag. And Mucheka Madisha is the player who was fouled. Take a look at it again. Shoma, you pick anything up here?
Yes, a little bit of a nudge from Castro.
Of course.
And, you know, and this type of foul, sometimes if you don't pick it up nicely, you might think the player dived. But when you're in motion, when you're just making a move, it's dangerous. It can be very dangerous because you don't have balance. You easily get cluttered to.
You saw the Sundowns playing out of defense, and Chiefs trying to put them, put the squeeze on, put the press on. But Sundowns played successfully through it.
The way Chiefs play, Gavin Hunt calls it playing off the front. Means he doesn't come up with a lot of build-up. And what that means is his defensive line pushes a little bit higher when the ball gets kicked from the defensive line. And that affords them that high pressure possibility.
So many interesting little subplots here. Of course, you guys have said you've got players who have featured on both sides here. Kama Billiard leading the line here for Chiefs this afternoon was a superstar for Mamelodi Sundowns. Castro was part of that fabled or famous CBD, which included Keegan Dolly. And on the bench for Mamelodi Sundowns this afternoon, George Maluleka. I did wonder whether they might be tempted to throw him in there against his former teammates.
I think you're forgetting Mpahlela.
Of course, Raman Mpahlela at centre back, which is where Gavin Hunt now has decided he will be using him going forward. Here's one for the future, Ngobo, working it wide into Kama Billiard. Nice little touch from Billiard here. Chiefs really have made the promising starter here, and Billiard couldn't put that on target.
This is where he's the best at Billiard, because he doesn't have a good left, but it always forces him when he plays out on the left wing of the middle, because he's able to cut inside into his favorable, strong right foot. But this time, obviously, bangs it over the top of the bar.
Well, hearing from insiders and Kaizer Chiefs that he is so up for it this season. There's a whole new demeanor to him. And last season, you could see that he was a player and a man who was out of sorts, not happy, and it was visible as well in his football. It just didn't happen for Kama Billiard last season, only managing to get on the score sheet 3 times. So he's up for it as an opportunity for a new lease on life here for him. Now, at the other end, here is the footballer of the season, Temba Mazwane, but couldn't find the pass there. Colin Matata Zonke Umanget. Mshishi took it all. Player of the season, player of the season, midfielder of the season. And may I just add, the player of the season as voted for by the South African Football Journalists Association. of which I am a proud member. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
He was incredible. I mean, Sundowns has had a very difficult season. The engagement in CAF does make it difficult for them to come out and play, but he was the one player that really got them going.
Listen, I think there were some really tough decisions to make for those who judge the awards, but that one was probably one of the easiest. To picking Themba Zwane as the PSL's player of the season was probably the easiest of the lot.
Finally, Kekane got his hand into the pie as well. I mean, he's been shunned in as many seasons as I can remember.
And it wasn't even his finest goal that won him the goal of the season. But listen, he was always up against some dazzling competition for that midfielder of the season.
Yes. I mean, if a Gavin Hunt tells you straight in the face, openly to say, for him, there's no better midfield in this country than Kekane.
And he knows him better than most.
Yes.
Because he gave him his first crack there at Black Leopards.
And eventually brought him over to SuperSport United.
Yeah. Now, Lyle Lakay continuing out at left back as a wing back in the absence of the suspended Langerman. Zwane, Andy Lejali. Sundowns will be hoping they can keep him fit this season. He is such an important player. His experience, his football brain, second to none, really. And Chiefs of one possession back. Doing a really good job for our Chiefs in the early exchanges here.
Most impressive for me is they've not allowed Sundowns to put a foot on the ball because of the hard pressure we spoke about. And knowing Gavin Hunt, that must have been the strategy. Don't give them enough space to build up from the back. Force them to play it long. At least we have a chance to defend it if it's a high ball.
Ramam Patlele looking to play it out the back here. Itumeleng Kune, many are Chiefs fan, I'm sure will be delighted to have him back in action. And that is no way any slight on Daniel Akpe, who had an outstanding season. He's another who can count himself unlucky not to have won the goalkeeper of the season. But again, there's no arguments about the season that Ronwen Williams, a graduate of the William Shongwe School of Goalkeeping, they can't argue with him being the goalkeeper of the season. He is now Bafana's #1 as well. For now. Because a certain Mr. Kude might have a thing or two to say about that.
I guess for now, let's just allow the conversations to flow elsewhere than Ron Williams. Yes. I guess maybe I share the same sentiments, but not necessarily because I had anything to do with it. You got to give it to the coaches that took over, that went on to raise the standard further, even higher.
It's one thing getting to the top, staying there is quite another. Here's young Ngobo. Parker, he was like a man reborn against Maritzburg. What a fine game he had against his former club. Parker.
He was like a man possessed.
Yeah. Great turn there from Ngobo. Kwasingapele didn't really get a hold of that one. Well, this is a young man. Of course, his momentum was stopped in his tracks really after making his Chiefs debut when he got that horrible Achilles injury. It kept him up for quite some time, but Gavin Hunt clearly is one who sees something in him as well, and that's why he is throwing him out there for a big game like this. Here he is, and he'll have an opportunity to learn along the long side or side of more experienced players like the Bohang Banyama, who's on the ball now. Chance for a shot, for opted instead to thread a little ball through. Sundowns read it well. Looking to exploit a bit of space down that right-hand side there now. Kermit Rasmus makes a run. In fact, it's Themba Zwane that pulls wide to receive this one. Ngobo will do the defending. Oh, fantastically done there by Cardoso, so calm under pressure.
It was like he's just juggling the ball on his own in training.
Again, he's another one who you've got to say can consider himself unlucky as well, not to have grabbed the gong at the PSL Awards, but congratulations must go out to Rashin Doriak with his fine season that he had. Sundowns now. Oh, just behind Shalulile that was there. Oh, almost a fantastic chance for him to fire in on goal. Found himself in a whole lot of space in that box. But was there a flag up? Dumpo Kekana, who is now into his 16th, or make that the 17th season in the top flight. Remarkable. Made his debut back in 2004 for Black Leopards under Gavin Hunt. These two sides, of course, in their two meetings last season, both teams lost their away matches, or their home matches. And I'm going to say home matches in inverted commas because the Chiefs' home game was played in the bubble. That match was played at the Orlando Stadium. Sundowns winning that one 1-0, and Chiefs winning in Pretoria by 2-0. And the Sundowns Slayer that day, Samir Nukovic, is still out nursing a groin injury.
If I may add, there was a little bit of a controversy about Nukovic's second goal, by the way.
In that game?
Yes. It was very tight, and some viewed it as
offside.
Yes.
The argument whether it came off throw last or...
Yes.
I remember that one. But hey, until VAR lands in these parts, these things will happen. Ball in here. Oh! Very nearly snacking into that near post of Itumele Nkune. But he was well positioned.
No, actually, I'd like to differ with that. In fact, he gets into trouble. Look at how out he was. And that shot takes him by surprise. He has to scramble across and barely gets offended to push it out. Did well to recover. Under normal circumstances, I should have been a straightforward catch for him.
Well, there you have it then. That's why you're here. Well, it recovered well there.
Very well, very well.
But very nearly snuck into that near post.
Could have been a very embarrassing for Kune.
Yeah, a goal out of nothing. They've got a corner now, the Sundowns. Chiefs clear it, but Sundowns still in possession. Sussman sticks out a boot there. What's the decision? It's a...
Mamelodi Sundowns.
Yeah, it's gone the way of Sundowns.
Yeah. A little bit late in Mpahlela. Catches Zwane there. I think around the heel.
Yeah, that's quite late. Just letting Zwane know he's there. Raman Mpahlela. And he will be a marked man this afternoon. A lot has been said about Chiefs wanting a little bit of revenge here. It'll be a game that I'm sure they'll be desperate to win, as will Sundowns after having made a faltering start. They'll also want to drive home the point that they are the champions, and that it was no fluke and no luck that they won the title. As Kutsia floats one in, the glancing header is wide from Madisha.
You won't believe it. Already people in and around the communities, obviously football communities, we're already billing this one as a season decider.
Oh, wow.
But that's just the magnitude of the game. It carries that much weight that whoever wins will carry with him a little bit of confidence going forward that will help him win some of the upcoming games.
More than just bragging rights at stake here. You saw that socially distanced bench there for Mamelodi Sundowns. I'll tell you what, the Sundowns are just spoiled for riches everywhere. you know, in terms of the coaching department, their playing personnel as well. I mean, you've got three of the finest minds sitting on the bench there. There's young Ngobo. Of course, you'll be able to tell us more about the great Ngobo that played for this club. Of course, there's been another Ngobo. There was the big striker, former Free State striker, and that's Ndumiso.
You're talking about Abednego. Shakes.
Valdez, they called him. Shaga Ngobo, as he was known in his playing days. So now they've got a new generation of Ngobo in the black and gold of Kaizer Chiefs.
How he gets that name, Shaga, obviously. CB, sitting down there by the pitch side, will tell a very interesting story about how Shaga Ngobo got the name Ushag. May soul rest in peace.
Now, could be something on here. Did I call him as Ndumiso? I meant Tembiso.
Tembiso, that's right.
Tembiso Ngobo. Apologies, Mapoloba. And here's a big man the big man who was the big animal up front for Kaizer Chiefs. Lila K. Opportunity to pick one out. Kune came and then thought twice about that one. Chiefs deal with it, but no, they've given it away. The chance here. She's getting underneath it there. Not able to put it on target. Andile Charlie. Oh, where that would have been a rare goal for Andile Charlie. There was a time when he was with Orlando Pirates when he was would keep the scoreboard ticking in as far as goals when he was a preferred penalty taker. And that one. Never in control of that one.
Yes, in fact, it was bouncing off the ground, going a little bit higher. He tried to rush it before it could get any higher, and with the pressure mounting on him from the Chiefs players in front of him.
We were saying earlier, before the game, earlier this afternoon, William Shoma, that the pitch looks good on camera.
Yes.
But the closer you get to it, you'll find that it is quite patchy in places, and those summer rains can't come soon enough. For these surfaces here, and we are going to have our first water break. I must say there's a bit of cloud cover overhead, which has made it a lot cooler than it was when we first arrived at the ground. Oh no, the break won't happen quite yet. Probably in a couple of minutes we'll get that water break. There is the steak. Bob Steak. Bobby Mutaun, the Kaizer Chiefs football manager. Get the possession. Interestingly, it's Sundowns that are enjoying more of the ball. They've come back into the game after Chiefs make the brighter start. Sundowns have settled down a lot more now controlling the possession here.
Let's also bring the approach by the two teams. Sundowns are a team that can hold on to ball. They can keep a good amount of ball possession through their build-ups. Unlike Chiefs, they're a little rushy in their style of game. And so you find that the team that plays with transition doesn't hold on to the ball much long, but they make enough entries.
Sundowns have that ability to wear down the opposition with their possession game. Now, chance here to break. Here's Parker, looked to pick out. He was looking for the run there of Kama Billiard. Kaizer Chiefs winless. Lost 3 home games against Mamelodi Sundowns. Oh, mistake here. This could be a goal, but good cover and good recovery from Ramam Patlele.
I'd like to look at that through ball. Initially, the one that Kune came out for. I'm not sure who ran ahead, obviously, to put him under pressure, to force him into that poor clearance. It'll be nice to see what the lining was like, because the fact that Kune cleared it eventually nullified the possible offside call, because the ref, or should I say the assistant on the far side, could have been waiting to see who gets to the ball first before he could flag him down.
Back with Madisha, leaves it for Kutsia. Really can't stop marveling at how things have turned around for Rivaldo Kutsia. At some point, it looked as if his career is over. But incredibly, he's made this remarkable recovery from a foot injury that really, as I said, at some point, even the doctors feared the worst for him.
You know, that's where you got to give Mamelodi Sundowns management the level of patience they had and the amount of time that it took him to be able to fully recover, that he could play.
Yeah.
I don't think too many teams would have allowed that.
Now, definitely was no offside there, but a mistake from Itumeleng Khune with that clearance. He gets away with it. Gets away with it thanks to the cover as well from Raman Patlele. Yes, Katsande maybe pickpocketed here, didn't get the call that there was a man behind, but also draws the foul. Don't know whether you might have heard him breathing down from behind and just waited. I don't think he was even aware that Kermit Erasmus was coming for him.
That was a good steal for Kermit Erasmus. I thought initially he might have maybe tackled him or fouled him, but he got a good tip with the front of his boot.
Well, we were wondering as well, William Shongwe, with after the performance of young Ngobo in that game against Maritzburg, whether he would retain his place with Lebohang Manyama coming back into the lineup. Here is Ngobo, a little cutback. Could be something on here, and just a little bit too much on that one. Over elaborating, I was thinking somebody needs to take a shot there.
Indeed.
"32 degrees is what thermometer says. I think it was probably a little bit higher than that when we first arrived here. Right, there is Gavin Hunt, the longest serving coach in the Premier Soccer League. This is his 23rd season in the top flight. Oh, that could have gone pear-shaped in a big way for Itumeleng Khune.
Shalulile looks to have been taken by surprise as the ball landed into his face unexpectedly. And had he controlled it earlier and tried to lob it over, I'm sure he could have gotten a better application.
Serves him the blushes. Never one to hide his emotions, Gavin Hunt there. Assisted, of course, this season by Arthur Zwane, who brought through the likes of Ngobo through the MDC at Kaizer Chiefs, and of course Dylan Shepherd, also having made the move from the now defunct Bidvest Vets. It'll take us some time to get used to the idea that there is no longer a Bidvest Vets, a team that has been a conveyor belt for talent over the years. I mean, you saw it on display last weekend in Orlando Pirates Play. They had 6 former Bidvest Vets players in their squad. How many do we have on show here this afternoon? I wonder.
Just trying to think here, what could be some of the discussion going on here with the coaches of both sides. I think for Mamelodi Sundowns, they need to pick up a little bit of the tempo. Yes, the passing game works in their favor, but the tempo, when you get across the center line going into the attacking third, needs to improve a little bit. It's easier for Chiefs to regroup and play in their faces.
Thank you, Mr. Compella, for keeping it clean.
Nobody said anything to him.
Yeah.
But he felt the pressure.
He felt obliged to say something.
Yeah.
The philosopher coach. Well, it's, I think...
Marian Patrick.
We may need to actually translate that. What is the English equivalent of Patrick? Do you want to venture that one there, William Shongwe? What is the English word for Patrick? The flag has stayed down here. Kuna will have to come out and play sweeper. Basically, we're saying you took me by surprise.
Yes, yes.
Didn't see you
that's
coming.
it, yeah. You know.
The cross from Lakay finds Romeo. Tests Itumeleng Kuna, but needs something more special than that to beat the great man.
Here's another thing to watch about this game. Kune seems to be falling a little bit behind in the way, in his timing to come out for some of the through passes.
Play continues here with Sundowns on attack. Well, Chiefs have a player down in the middle of the park. And he's on his feet now. I think it was Parker. It is. Here he is on the ball. Did that come off his arm? It did.
Yes.
And Lutolopadi, the referee, was on the spot there. Parker now goes down again.
Point I was trying to make about Kune. If you have a defensive line, I mentioned them, they play out the front, so they don't build up. So means there's always be a big gap behind the defensive line and the goalkeeper. So as a goalkeeper, you got to push a little bit higher in closing that gap, because it's an opportunity for the opposition to put in long passes or through balls.
You know, the beauty of fourth industrial revolution broadcasting is that we can interact with you there at home, and BLM always on Twitter comes up with a fantastic word for Patrick. In fact, that is the correct word.
Wow.
He says, Patrick is to ambush. There you go.
One word.
Thank you, BLM always,
yes,
for arriving in the nick of time with that Sekhoa, as you put it.
Because I thought about this element of surprise, but then you wanted one word. What is the word, an English word? Yes, yes.
Please make
Perfect.
a note of it for next time, Shonga.
You know, this is what I love about Twitter, because you think you're just talking to yourself here and a few other people around you, but the masses that are out there obviously listening and willing to interact with us. And
don't love that Twitter too much, because when they come for you, they'll come for you as well.
Hey, don't tell me about it.
No, ask me. I'm the authority. Back to the action there on the field as the sun breaks through the clouds. Half an hour into the game. Still stuck at locked at 0-0 here as Reeve Frosler wins the throw-in. I was talking about the number. We were talking about Bidvest and the number of graduates scattered around the country from Bidvest. This afternoon we have, here's one of them here, Reeve Frosler. And we have Hashim Domingo, although strictly speaking was not a graduate of the Wits system, but he did play for Bidvest Wits. He's sitting on the bench for Sundowns. Cape Tonian. Am I missing anyone else there? Not too many, actually. Oh, well, of course, Dennis Onyango played for Bidvest Wits as well. Short spell at Bidvest Wits. Didn't...
Hey, I can tell you, he was in the wilderness then. Let me tell you, he couldn't hold the #1 position anywhere. I mean, at Supersport, yes, he was the #1 at some stage, but then Emil Barum came.
Remember, he was also out at Black Aces.
Yes, Mpumalanga. So how?
There's another Wits graduate there.
Those that don't know him, is the kit man. He was. I'm not sure what position does he hold now.
I think he still has that same role. Gavin Hunter, Rook Temenia. Here's Lakay, shows too much of it though to Frosler. Now, Sundowns starting to apply a little bit of pressure now. Ask a few questions, but now that's carelessly given away to Billiard, and he's got space to run into. Only Castro up with him there. And he's just pushed it too much there, and an excellent tackle. Clean tackle as well. And did he get Did he pick up, yeah, Mucheka Modisha in executing that sliding tackle. Got caught. Yeah. There's a challenge then on Billiard.
Yeah, as he jumps over, he lands into his shin.
As we go back live, just the ball flashing over the goals there of Dennis Onyango. Yet to come to life, this one. Bit of a slow burner. Nebuhang Manyama. Well, I think William Shongwe, I'm sure you'll agree, as will a lot of Kaizer Chiefs fans, that Chiefs' decline last season coincided with this man's first injury and then loss of form. Because he was so key to what they did that, I mean, 9 assists that he weighed in with, 11 in all competitions. So he was very much the key cog. He was the conductor for Chiefs.
And scoring key goals along the way to build up Chiefs' momentum towards them giving or having the hopes of taking the championship.
Including, of course, the Derby winner.
I remember the one against Golden Arrows, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, late on in the game when it seemed like Steve Compella's side had stolen a point in that game. And he popped up in the box very late on in the game to win that one. Now, as Chiefs are backing off here, they could be in trouble here. It's going to, Shalulile got onto that one, but it's gone for a Sundowns throw.
You see the reaction from Karma Billiards. Just about every time Chiefs picks up the ball or win a ball position back, and how he peels up immediately to open himself that space to be on the run for a long pass. And okay, not all of them have been that successful, but been very impressive.
Look at these two now. The ever-presence of Highlands Park last season. Peter Shalulile started every single game in the Premiership for Highlands Park, and Cardoso started every single game and finished every single game in every competition for Kaizer Chiefs last season. That is something remarkable in this day and age, and especially for Shalulile, who has had his share of horror injuries in the past.
And even better this season around, because on top of a full season with the South African clubs before, he would still go and play in the Kosafa Cup in between. But that didn't happen. I mean, the break was just too short for any competition to be squeezed in.
Incredible. Tremendous athletes then, both. Kutsia with the delivery. Itumeleng Kuna comes out and leaves it. And that's the opener. Mamelodi Sundowns break the deadlock, and it's that man we were just talking about him. He's off the mark. Last season's joint top scorer opens his account as Itumeleng Kuna came out and flapped it here. And the grateful Peter Shalulile snapped that one up. 16 he got last campaign. He's up and running.
Kune comes out, but look, he's a little bit under pressure. His starting position is a little bit late because he's being impeded. Obviously, he's trying to break through. Zwane didn't do anything. He just stood in front of him. But his decision to now let go and chase for the cross was a bit late.
And what of the role of Cardoso here, William?
Should have covered the goal line.
Did it come off his head or his shoulder there of Shalulile? Let's have a look here. Comes off his shoulder. But fortuitously, it's in the right direction. Peter Shalulile up and running in the colors of Mamelodi Sundowns. And it's Sundowns then that draw first blood. Once again, Gavin Hansmen are going to have to do a rearguard job here. Last weekend, they went behind against Maritzburg United.
This is where you think a goalkeeper of Kune's caliber should have done better.
Yeah. Found wanting there, Itumeleng Kune. As you made the point about positioning earlier as well, where it was nearly caught off guard by a ball into the near post there. And this time we got away with that one because he managed to recover this time around, though.
And there's two things as well, TT. I don't know if you noticed. You know, the two hands that he used, I felt for me it was dropping a little bit too low for him to still use the upper arm to get to it, you know. But I'm sure with a bit of time we'll be able to look at it a little bit closer.
Could be more problems here for Kaizer Chiefs. Good work from Lalake, but the defenders get it away. But only as far as Andile Jali looking to switch play there. It's not a good touch from Tapelo Morena. So we'll still be looking to recover his sharpness, having come back from a broken ankle. Shalulile, there he is. Scored against 10 of the 15 opponents that he played against last campaign. Scored against Chiefs as well. In fact, the only teams that he didn't score against are Orlando Pirates, Super Sport United, Black Leopards, Stellenbosch, and Chippa. That's a fantastic record. And the great thing about Shalulile as well last season was that he scored all types of goals.
Yeah.
Looking that speculative or hopeful from Reeve Frosler. Now, for the second weekend in a row, Gavin Hunt is going to have a few choice words at half-time. Let's take a look at that goal again as Cunha comes out. William Shaw, talk us through this.
You see, the left hand, for me, it's a little bit lower. I think he could have cut it with the right one while it was still up in the air. You see, he drops it and he prefers to one because he thinks it's stretching away, but had he used his right one, maybe he could have had a touch, because that one just needed a touch. It would have been over the players behind him.
Black Live, it's Sundowns on attack again. Nice feet here. Could be a chance if he can turn. And a crucial block. Suddenly, Chiefs are under the cosh here now. And of course, 1-0 was the score that settled it when these two sides last met, as Katsande is the first into the book for the challenge on Andile Jali. Now that is problems for Katsande. He's going to have to watch himself. Just come back from suspension, by the way. He's late. I mean, in the end, he just bumps him over. It wasn't a nasty challenge or anything, just that, but he was late.
He was also, there was aggression, which I guess is what ended in the cut.
Well, he's going to have to be on his best behavior now for the rest of the game, and there's a lot of it still left. Sundowns can press home the advantage here with a second. They've got their two set-piece specialists standing over this one. Shompo Kekana, of course, you know what's going to come with him. And then Lala K was also standing off this one. So it'll be a different approach. Raw power versus, but it's a long way out, but it's still Shompo Kekana range. But this one now just wouldn't dip enough. And it goes over the crossbar. Shompo Kekana trying something a little different. That wasn't all about power. It's just also trying to get it to dip into the below that crossbar. Well capable of doing it, of course, as we well know. Not necessarily from a dead ball situation, but from open play, he can make all kinds of things happen. Shompo Kekana. He is what they say, not a great goal scorer, but certainly a scorer of great goals.
Ask Leuvenbeck, the Cape Town City goalkeeper, in open play.
Oh, ask many. Offside flag against Kermit Erasmus.
And the thing is about Leuvenbeck is like he heard about this Kekana, but he never got to meet him personally. And what a way to meet the man.
This time the flag going up as Kermit Erasmus. Haven't seen much of him in the game. A man who, of course, got 13 goals last campaign for Cape Town City. It was really, his goals were largely responsible for where City eventually ended up, from a situation where they were flirting with a relegation in the early stages of last season. But yeah, recovered to get into the top 8.
And the story of Kermit Erasmus last season was incredible for me, in the way that he was in and out of the game with that muscle, almost like a chronic muscle injury that just never seemed to want to heal. But the lockdown, obviously, I think played to his favor, because he had more time then to let it heal without the pressure of having to be forced back into the game.
Well, have Sundowns finally found the solution to this problem that they've had in trying to find a consistent centre forward, a consistent number 9? Will it be Erasmus and or Shalulile, the go-to man for goals this campaign? I mean, Themba Zwane was their top scorer last time out. The season before that was Mabuye. That tells you something about their struggles with a centre forward. That's why they had the big man Mauricio from Uruguay. He's still with them, but they brought him in because that's what Pitso Mosimane spoke of so often, that he needs that consistent big man, or not necessarily a big man, but consistent goal scorer up front. And Mauricio Alfonso was a hero, of course, got a brace in the final, won them a cup final, the Telkom knockout, and is going to maybe have an early change, although we are with halftime approaching. Maybe Gavin Hunt will leave it for the second half. Looks like Njabulo Blom, as he did against Maritzburg. United will come on again, and I wonder whether would it be Katsanda maybe to make way, given that he's also on a booking. As Shiref, Ms. Makalima indicates 3 minutes of stoppage time at the end of this cagey first half, but it'll be Sundowns who go in as Billiard tries something. Did that take a deflection on its way through?
No,
no,
doesn't look like. Yeah. But you know what, if you look at his application period, I mean, he's been coming down the left-hand side, cutting inside, taking shots, maybe not successful in finding the target, but certainly I think if you talk about effort, you got to give it to him in this first half. He still just needs to work on finding his bearings right.
I mentioned that it was one goal that settled it. As we look at a pensive Gavin Hunt with Arthur Zwane there. One goal settled it last time out, but it was a very different game, that was, from what we're watching here this afternoon. Even from an approach point of view, Pitso Mosimane describing it at the time as saying they played Champions League football. To get their one goal, which came from Gaston Sirigno, not featuring today, and managed to protect that. It was a first half goal that they managed to protect and managed to keep Chiefs at bay. Of course, in that game, Samir Nukovic was also absent.
Yes,
in that game,
but I think he was brought in because there was an injury. Oh, in fact, he wasn't.
Oh, he
got a yellow. He got a card on the previous game. Yeah.
Remember,
they tried to protect him from the previous game by not fielding him, but then there were problems
so
for Chiefs. They threw him in, and he got that.
Got a soft yellow card, but. And it meant that he missed what many were billing at the time as a title decider. It didn't turn out to be at the time, because both Chiefs and Sundowns in that run-in started, but Chiefs more so than Sundown. Sundowns, as I indicated, have won their last 2 matches away against Kaizer Chiefs, and they're unbeaten in their last 3 against Amakosi. And this is a game where we normally, under normal circumstances, of course, would have a great crowd And I wonder what it's like now for these two sides not to have that 12th man to lift them, as we are now into the last minute of time added. Maybe one last chance for one last attack for Kaizer Chiefs before the break. Mphahlele, whose clearance of the line was maybe, were it not for that, it would be 2-0 maybe at this point to Sundowns, as referee Badi blows a whistle then to end the first half here, the opening skirmishes here of the battle for the 2020-2021 DSTV Premiership. Last season's top marksman Peter Shalulile has put his new club ahead, and with a goal that Itumeleng Khune may well find he was culpable for. But the story then at halftime, after 45 minutes, it's the champions in front. Kaizer Chiefs 0, Mamelodi Sundowns 1.
Well, it's half time here. I've just had to walk and listen closely to what Itumeleng Khune is saying to Sean Olive, the assistant referee. The conversation then goes as I'm listening in. Itu Khune says to the assistant referee, I made you guys aware that a man is standing impeding me. The reason I don't get to the ball is because I'm being impeded. The assistant referee answers, says if the referee sees it, he gives it. Tells me then that there is a story that's the complaint that's being laid by Itu Khune as he walks into the dressing room here, right through the tunnel, talking to the match officials. It's half time here. You want to notice a couple of things. Then you're looking at the partnership up front for Kaizer Chiefs. Kama Pilliard Castro, maybe not working. You're seeing Lyle Lakay. He's playing right here. This is where he's receiving these balls. And then he's pulling Riff Frosler, and Bennett Parker must come and defend. Also, the fact that Sundowns are playing with two up front, Shalulile and Rasmus, makes these two defenders then to be more interested. Great communication between Rama and Cardoso. It's half time here. Kaizer Chiefs 0, Mamelodi Sundowns 1. Julia Stewart and her team in our studios in Randburg will give you the halftime analysis.